Welcome in, everybody. It's time for your NA console relegations. I'm Aggro, joined by Taco. And Taco, yesterday we saw the EU side of things. Some really fun games there. Today it's NA's turn.
And NA, as historically speaking, they typically tend to be a really strong region when it comes to their Xbox competition. So it'll definitely be an interesting shakeup for these relegations.
Absolutely. We got a couple things we got to hit first off before we get started with the games. These teams are all trying to get towards HRX, and you can still get your early tickets here for 25% off. I mean, this trust me, you want to take advantage of it.
You get a chance to meet the players, some of the casters, and I mean, just esports in general is always a good time.
Maybe even some members from the caster. We saw that promo. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait for that show to air. It was really fun to be a part of. You're going to enjoy it for sure. Let's take a look at the relegations process here. I mean, yesterday, as I mentioned, it was EU, and this is all in the name of getting through this fall split and into the SCL fall finals.
And of course, all of these teams really just have so much on the line. Nobody really wants to be left out, knowing what exactly could possibly be waiting for them. And really keeping that in mind, I kind of anticipate to see a lot of stiff competition.
SCL Fall Finals is 8 teams, top 6 from North America, top 2 from Europe. And a lot of those European teams we saw yesterday starting to get a little bit better. That top 2 sort of cutoff for the European SCL. It's going to be pretty exciting to watch. So let's take a look at the schedule and see what you have in store for you today. We're going to start it off with Starboys versus antiVenom, but we get to see some really interesting matchups. SB, Strictly Business, it's kind of confusing because Starboys can also be SB. Strictly Business up against Relegated Gamers. Relegated Gamers? I don't know. They've got a strange name, but that's up next. That's going to be a really fun matchup to watch.
And I think a lot of people are probably keeping their eyes on those two teams as well. Starboys is probably, or excuse me, Strictly Business is probably one of the more favored teams when it comes to this relegation. Starboys is one of the teams that's really trying to amp up their excitement factor, really prove that they still have what it takes to compete in the SCL.
Yeah, the two SBs, the two teams trying to defend their SCL spots. As you mentioned, Strictly Business probably the more favored team. A lot of veterans on that squad. Starboys, can they defend their spot? Let's find out. Ready for picks and bans. Starboys up against antiVenom. Going to start us off here, and in that first pick position is going to be the SCL defender, Starboys. A lot of picks yesterday that were interesting, but ended up working out. Some Artemis in the EU, some Zhang Kui even in the mid lane. Do you expect to see more of the same here today?
I wouldn't expect so much of the Zhang Kui as much as I would kind of the same bans, of course. Just Hell ban and Scotty ban. Everybody knows Hell in NA. You never really know whether to expect her in the ADC role or just wherever on the map. She's just so prominent right now. Scotty also no surprise being taken away.
Same can be said for Odin. I mean, Odin's been being banned on console for months and months and months. Getting over a year basically, going back to when I was still playing, and still one of the top picks and bans on the console scene. Sun Wukong, the other ban here for antiVenom. So a couple options open for Starboys. Terra comes to mind. Chronos is still open. Freya as well. Chronos was banned pretty often yesterday, but it's going to be the Raven for Starboys.
Can't really go wrong with a Raven, whether you want to flex pick him for the jungle or the solo lane role. It's really up to the team, but I would anticipate that to be a jungle Raven just because of how much pressure he can exert in the early game.
I can't disagree with you there. Osiris, the response by antiVenom. Could go for a jungler here, but again, it's going to be Terra. I like that pick there. 2 strong selections here for antiVenom, though Osiris kind of has fallen out of the meta a little bit as of late. antiVenom still clearly prioritizing it. Sobek, the pick for Starboys. Why haven't we seen Chronos yet? I mean, he was banned pretty consistently yesterday, and it's kind of risen to be one of the top bans in all of competitive Smite.
I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen Chronos just yet, is that Starboys would rather take their chances with a Thoth, prioritizing that stun and the CC that he can provide in a team fight. They really are looking for a little bit more poke potential, considering you have a Raven who can frontline tank up some of that damage and really get targets low for that Thoth to clean them up.
Well, Chang'e in the mid lane, most likely for antiVenom. Again, we talked about it yesterday. We saw Chang'e in the mid lane. Console mid laners, they love their Chang'e for whatever reason. Gonna see if it works out this time around for antiVenom. Kukulkan ban here by antiVenom. Smart, not only because Raven is already one of those top priority warriors, but Kukulkan is as well. Kukulkan can kind of go to solo a little bit easier than Raven can, so that would have been a pretty scary right side of the map for Starboys. It's gonna be a Willish, the ban here for Starboys. Interesting.
That doesn't really surprise me too much, but it leads me to believe that there might be some potential jumps involved with whatever hunter or jungler they decide to potentially opt for on side of Starboys. But what's interesting to me is antiVenom's priority. They prioritize Osiris as opposed to just holding on to that solo lane pick. So just in case, by eliminating all those pressure warriors from the get-go, it could kind of potentially change Starboys to wanting to put that Robin into the solo as opposed to jungle.
Interesting. We'll see if that works out for antiVenom. Hu-Yi, the pick here. I like this Nemesis ban by Starboys. By saying that Robin is most likely going into the jungle, you're already going to have a fairly tanky lineup, and of course Nemesis shreds through that pretty well. Erlong Shen still on the table though, and this is a very potent warrior right now. Pretty strong pick here for Starboys. No matter what they want in Hunter, and it's going to be a magical ADC, but it's not the Chronos nor the Freya, it's the Soul.
It's the Soul. Sometimes you just want a little bit more safety in that dual lane, and I think that Soul can provide that. It should also pair along nicely with the Sobek as far as lane clear is concerned. She'll be able to definitely assist him as far as pushing that out, considering that Terra, Hu-Yi, can have a lot of lane presence.
Well, Bellona, the last pick, we were talking about this Osiris as if it was locked in for solo, but might have just been jungle the whole time. Could also be Bellona jungle, but have to wait and see. Starboys versus antiVenom, the first game of the NA console scene relegations is about to start. It is going to be Osiris in the solo lane and Bellona jungle. Usually the opposite when we saw these two paired together on the same squad. Why do you think we see relating antiVenom's jungler piloting the Bellona this time?
Might have been wanting to disarm, if anything, to try and combat that against the Robin. It could be a pretty strong tool, considering that Robin's auto attacks actually deal a solid chunk of damage. I mean, it's absolutely insane when he really gets going. So if you have a disarm to potentially prevent that from just completely destroying your mid laner or your support, whichever his target seems to be early on.
Plus, Robin's passive pretty reliant on hitting those auto attacks to stack up that health shield that he gives himself. So you're right, that disarm could come into big factor here. Cameron going to be starting on his own at his own red buff, it looks like. Could be Fiercest Newt 2, the Sobek, coming to the mid lane, hanging around. He is going to decide to go mid, so Cameron going to be clearing this much slower than the enemy duo lane, but will get pressure in the mid lane. Starboys are going to be able to rotate over to the right-hand side and assist on the right as these two warriors, 4 warriors in total actually, start to smash it out.
And I like this already from the Bellona and the Osiris. You know that you're going to have the lane clear because of the auto attacks having cleave. So immediately rushing for those Ellies as opposed to their buffs, just so they can ensure that their team has that global farm.
But the fact that Mythic and Newt had that pressure in the mid lane kind of prevented any invade opportunity for antiVenom. So you're right, I like what antiVenom's doing, but at the same time, Starboys recognizes that they are going to get outpushed, and that would be an invade opportunity for antiVenom. So instead, they rotate Sobek towards the mid lane, make sure that they can get pressure there, and are able to secure, at least protect their own buffs for the moment. A couple familiar names on both of these rosters. Cameron should be the one that most recognized on Starboys, one of the only remaining members of the summer split Starboys roster. A lot of those players missing, but Mythic C4G has been in and around the console scene, especially in the Challenger Cup, though whenever he actually spent some time on Soar with El Chapo and Brochacho and Uzi, but didn't really work out there. On the other side for antiVenom, Aromatica used to be known as Despair, has been in and around the scene a long time. Also on that Soar roster with those guys for a little bit. But Jacob Task, Relating, these are guys who have been around the Challenger Cup scene for a long time and trying to make their break into the SCL.
And of course, all of these teams, that's really what everything is about. And when you're playing in these kind of best-of-1 scenarios, this is your real chance to just bring it all out.
This is a matchup that I think antiVenom is probably looking to get an early win. We talked about it yesterday. We talk about it every time we have these relegations. As long as you get to 2 wins, you're probably in, or at least into a tiebreaker scenario. If you lose twice, you're probably out. So neither of these teams want to drop this very important early stages. With this many warriors on the map, who has the advantage in the late game, Taco?
It could really go either way. A lot of that's going to rely purely on their team fights in general and who just gets the better end of the ability trade out. I would probably favor the side with the Terra, though, as opposed to the Sobek. Sobek can provide some excellent peel in front line, but that Terra global ulti just has so much usage.
Relating going to find a big bludgeon. No, knocked up perfectly there by Joltak, and Relating actually uses his horrific emblem maybe he thought there was a chase coming for him after his bludgeon was interrupted. Either way, that relic goes on cooldown without much benefit. I like the idea, though, of the Horrific Emblem. I mean, Bologna's got good burst image, but in the early game, can't stick to targets quite as well. That Horrific going to make that a lot easier.
Horrific, it will definitely solve that problem for him, but Cameron's going to have a couple of problems of his own in the dual lane. Playing a Soul against a Hu-Yi, magical ADCs are fun and all, and they can certainly deal damage as the game builds up, but Hu-Yi is almost always favored in these kind of matchups.
Do you like the Bluestone on the Hu-Yi? Because there's Hu-Yi is one of those characters that half the ADCs I see go Deathstole, half the other ones go Bluestone. Which do you prefer?
That's just purely player preference and what you're against. I would imagine that he's probably going to be opting for lifesteal. Hold on a second, though. It's going to be Cameron actually trying to get the engage going, and Hamster is in a lot of trouble.
But he has both dashes, Terra ultimate giving him that extra movement speed, and that Sobek ultimate only in a tickle relating. So a couple ultimates used on the side of Starboys and antiVenom. We saw the Terra ultimate, as I mentioned, but it's antiVenom who get away with stealing Starboy's red buff. Cameron, no ultimate and no red now. Going to be pretty difficult to trade in to Aromatica in this duo lane.
Not to mention that with antiVenom having the buff timer as well, they'll probably be looking to invade that in the future with probably more than just 2 people.
Newt going around the backside, but there's 3 people on those oracles. Wasn't spotted out, so he's able to escape back to the duo lane. As Joltak looks to put some pressure on this right-hand side. Jacob Taz coming back from base. I don't mind this play from Joltak. He's taking a lot of poke, but he's making Jacob miss an entire wave in the solo lane, and whenever anyone shows up, that forces Jacob back into his lane, and all the way on the right-hand side of the map, I Am the Hamster shows his face, but not a lot of threat of Starboys doing a Gold Fury this early on.
And both of these teams are still kind of trying to feel each other out. Cameron was really eager to try and get some action going, but right now, Starboys kind of just need to prioritize farming. They don't necessarily have the strongest engage composition.
Kind of waiting for the enemy team to engage. And there's the Horrific Emblem, but off the mark with the Eagles rally. 3-man taunt, but it's blocked by the wall. Joltak's not going to get the heal because he got hit by Lord of the Afterlife, and this is going to be First Blood. Relating claims it for antiVenom. The 2 warriors and the Guardian really do enough damage in the early game. Not worried about it so much right now, and they find the first kill on the Joltak.
Might have missed the Bologna ultimate there, but the added protections on top of the Osiris landing the ult that mattered. That anti-heal just... That's the most important part when you're playing this matchup of the Erlang versus the Osiris. It's all about timing, and unfortunately for Joltak, he was just on the worst end of it.
Without a doubt, if Jacob misses that ultimate and Joltak gets the heal off of that 9 turns blessing, all of a sudden that kill doesn't happen, and Starboy is still sitting at 0-0, but Jacob on the mark, and as a result, Joltak falls. Is that the side of the map that antiVenom want to establish a lead on? Because it's 4 warriors up against each other on the right side between the jungle and the solo. And if I were in this game, I feel like this is the sort of focus that I would want to put on it, because if you can get your 2 warriors ahead while putting the other 2 warriors behind, you're at a huge advantage.
I would have to agree with that entirely, just also because you don't really have a whole lot of opportunities as a Bologna to try and kill a Thoth or a Soul. Both of those gods have pretty excellent escapes as far as peeling themselves away from a warrior trying to chase them down.
Uh-oh, Cameron gets double bounced on this left-hand side. There's a Disapparate, and Aromatica not going to continue to chase, but the Hamster wants to, dashes forward, but now it's Nuke going to have to use his ultimate in response. This is all in the name of getting towards this red buff. Panda mid uses his Aegis to get out of that lurking in the waters, but here comes Relating. This time he's going to land on 2 with that Eagles rally, but not a lot of follow-up for him yet. Final Judgment being charged by Mythic, but not fired off quite yet. Could use it to try and steal away this red buff, and he will, but it got reset. No, Mythic did end up stealing it away, and now it's anyone going in onto Aromatica. He's going to get stun locked right into the Suns, and antiVenom claim their second.
We still have Finest, Fiercest New on the back line, trying to go in, able to pick up Panda mid. That's so big damage in early game, nothing to scoff at. Probably could have found more, but his team just wasn't prepared for the follow-up.
Nice ultimate there by Mythic. Knocks Panda mid down to low HP and manages to secure the buff all at the same time. Good ultimate there out of the Thoth mid laner. So now it's 2-1. antiVenom still with a slight lead, but the fact that Panda mid falls, he's been just kind of there doing Chunga things in the early game, which is really not a lot. That's what Chunga's designed to do, is not a lot in the early game and a lot come late game. But we were talking about putting these 2 warriors behind. If Chang'e falls behind, that's a bad look for antiVenom.
Chang'e, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, though. I would rather have a behind Chang'e than behind Warriors, because the Warriors are going to determine the pacing of this game entirely. So far, it's pretty much been just the Bologna looking to go in at every single opportunity, and that's a solid mindset. That's what Relating needs to be doing right now. This is where he gets the brunt of his damage, is the early game stages before anybody has a chance to really build up those defenses.
Well, he's made the most of it so far. He's 2-0. He's got both kills for antiVenom, and now he's got that Gladiator shield finished, whereas anyone is still waiting on that round shield. So big power spike advantage for antiVenom at this point. Then in their solo laner, ErupT is still pushing this lead that was earned for him with his ultimate in the gank on the right-hand side. He's up 700 gold and a pretty sizable amount of XP as well. Just a matter of how much of an impact can Joltak make in these team fights compared to ErupT, because Erlang Shen is a phenomenal team fight warrior.
Well, if that fight had broken out any later in the game as well, I think that purely goes in Starboys' favor. Unfortunately for them, anyone just got picked off a little bit too soon, not expecting that stun lock to happen right into the Hui ultimate.
Joltak trying to secure the fire elementals, and he will. Good damage onto Relating, but now he's trying to turn it around. Anyone see that overhead kick out of there, and the sprint used by Joltak is the disengage signal for Starboys. Not a lot used there by Starboys, only the sprint. They get Relating's ultimate in return, but one of the things that makes Bologna so potent, even in the jungle, is that Eagle's Rally is not on a particularly low cooldown, plus he's got that CDR from the Glad Shield.
Trading out the sprint as well, the Horrific will be up just a few seconds beforehand, so Relating will probably look for the same thing, just consistently over and over again, just really trying to burn out that sprint, really prevent Starboys from having as much escape or survivability.
Onto the left-hand side, Newt is making his rotation. Aromatica boxing it out with Cameron, neither particularly unhealthy, pretty close to full HP. Relating gonna get a little bit of XP for his rotation troubles. Aromatica going for the Devourer's Gauntlets right after the boots. A lot of hunters seem to prefer to go for the Devo gloves before the boots. Aromatica going for it a little bit later. Is on the right-hand side. Joltak's in some trouble, got hit by that Lord of the Afterlife, but managed to survive this time. Do you think that this is the right sort of build path for this Hui?
For the Hui, I think that he can get away with it, although Devo should have probably been prioritized since he's against a magical ADC. A soul's not going to try to box you. No smart soul will try to box you that early on unless you get some kind of massive advantage with a gank. And the damage just isn't there from Cameron, so he would have been safe on the Hui just rushing that Devos. It's not like he's going to have many opportunities to try and run Cameron down either way.
Cameron may be going for a Doom Orb here. I can't imagine what else that Lost Artifact would become at this stage. I mean, an early Chronos Pendant, but Soul is not a god that wants to build heavy CDR, especially not investing nearly 3K into heavy CDR like that Chronos Pendant. So Cameron may be going for a stacking out of his own, but his is a little bit more risky. Doom Orb, of course, you lose the stacks on death, whereas Devourer's Gauntlets, they stay permanent.
But if he's able to stack it up and stay safe in that back line, Cameron will be putting out a solid amount of damage on that soul.
And it is not Doom Orb. It's going to be either Rod of Tahuti or Chronos Pendant.
Sometimes you just want a second item Rod, because every item after that...
There's no way. There's no way he's building second item Rod here.
What if he does it? What do you say then?
Why did you just spend 3,300 gold on an insane late game item in the early game? I don't know. That would I'd have some questions for Cameron, though I think I already do with Chronos Pendant. I mean, there are a lot of benefits to Chronos Pendant. I mean, you get 30% CDR, basically, 20% outright from the stats, and then every 10 seconds, any ability that's on cooldown loses a second off of that cooldown, so it comes out to about 30%, and that extra 10 from the passive can go past the cap. But as I mentioned, I mean, Soul, you do so much when your abilities are down. You do so much damage with your auto attacks that I don't think that investing that much gold is the right call into an item that only gives you 80 power.
I would have liked to see a Bancrofts.
Yeah.
Potentially, Bancrofts is always a solid secondary pickup for a mage ADC like Soul, but sometimes you gotta risk it for the biscuit. And speaking of which, antiVenom trying to get away with this Gold Fury. Starboys has spotted it out, but Relating's ready to go in and bang with Mythic.
Mythic's holding on to both relics, though, pretty patient out of that mid laner, and Newt gonna use his ultimate, put good damage onto Relating with that lurking in the waters. Newt's gone for a mystical mail here, and he's going to find the pluck on Aromatica, who does have that dive bomb available, but in goes anyone right after him. Final Judgment knocks Panda Mid down to below 10% HP, but another good ultimate out of Aromatica forces everyone back. He does fall to the hand of Mythic right after that happens. Good team fight there from Starboys, but around the back comes Jacob Task, making the rotation. Joltak and base, he's not going to be here to help him out, and anyone's going to fall to the rotation from Jacob Task. Mythic can only stand and watch, so it's 1-for-1 at the end of the day, but in the overall team fight portion of that engagement, Starboys end up on top with a really nice play from Mythic.
Fierce's new getting the pluck off to start it all up and really put the Hui out of position. That's what counts in my mind. And if you can keep finding those consistent plucks without getting punished by the Terra shortly after, that'll put Starboys in a really good position for these objectives.
While I don't really like the Chronos pendant pickup by Cameron, I really like this Void Shield pickup by anyone. I mean, you're up against multiple physical damage dealers, not just, you know, guys who are going to poke you down a little bit. Bellona jungle, Osiris solo who's ahead, Hu Yi who's been able to farm pretty effectively so far in this game. This Void Shield is going to really help out because not only are you giving yourself protection, but you're stripping protection away from the enemy warrior jungle and warrior solo laner so that your team can do more damage to them.
And not to mention, off of that last play, Cameron actually was able to find a little bit of a lead against the Hui Yi. He just hit level 13, so Aromatica is actually going to be trailing behind, which is nice for Cameron. And picking up that tiny trinket, I think this might be the Bancroft that we were waiting for.
Or you could just spend another 3k gold and go for Book of the Dead. I mean, could go for it, right? Book of the Dead is really, really solid on these magical ADCs, but I'm kind of joking at this point just because it's so expensive to go for multiple nearly 3k items in your second and third slot. You would need to be miles ahead in gold, and Cameron really is not at this stage. He's up about 200. Yeah, that's not enough.
Balling out.
Yeah, he's got some suspend
balling
on some
a budget.
on some wards. Yeah, exactly. He is balling on a budget right now. Relating has the opportunity to solo down this Portal Demon, but Mythic recognizes that that's happening. Mythic is the one with the biggest lead right now, I would say, outside of the solo lane, of course, because Jacob Task has just been dominating Joltak thus far. He's up about 400 gold over Panda Mid.
I think this is going to be the real disadvantage for Panda Mid, though, is facing up Chang'e versus Thoth. You don't have nearly the same amount of poke potential, and that last fight was a primary example of it. As Fierce as Newt thinks about going in for a moment, but it's just the fact that if you try to go in, and speaking of going in, Cameron.
He's in a bad spot now. Disapparate got him out of that Eagles rally, but the Horrific Emblem came shortly after. Good ultimate from him, though, as they try and turn it around. Starboys' captain and hunter is going to fall here. Panda Mid around the backside. Great Aegis by Aromatica right on time to immune that damage from the Mystic Rush as Newt looks to chase down Relating. Don't think he's going to be able to close that gap, but good stun onto I Am the Hamster. Anyone still trying to find it as, again, Fiercest Newt is on the prowl looking to chase down that Bellona.
There's actually really good juke attempts, and Fierce is new, and he's going for it. He might actually find the damage, and he is able to pick it up with the tail whip onto Relating. The BM back right after, too.
That mystical male. Starboys really like to ball out. That's what I'm going to say. They like their expensive items.
This
mystical
is damage Sobek.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
You can't.
He's third in the game and second on his team.
And that's kind of one of the things that you can get away with on Sobek, though. He's got the Traveler shoes and the Watchers, which is helping him as far as keeping up in gold is concerned with the Terra. And when you're able to afford that much of an expensive item such as Mystical Mail for a Sobek, sure, you sacrifice a little bit of protections towards your team, and it is a really greedy build, but the utility that he might get out of this by being a little bit more damage-oriented in the early game could be kind of devastating towards antiVenom.
Joltak in a bit of an odd spot after proxying, but Cameron, again, very far up in the enemy jungle. Starboys there in support, though, as they secure the Oracles. And that's an important Oracle secure because this is right around the time, Taco, where this Gold Fury, which would be the first of the game, can be very, very impactful. It's not that early game Gold Fury that only gives you a bit. 17 minutes in, that's going to be a big burst of gold.
I would favor Starboys for early objective secure as opposed to antiVenom, though. I mean, you have the Thoth ultimate for the secure and the burst potential from Cameron. And they have so many auto-attack base gods on Starboys that it just wouldn't surprise me if they look for that Gold Fury soon.
Witchblade, that's the call for antiVenom here for sure. There are tons of auto-attackers on Starboys, as you mentioned, and Witchblade, an item that I think is kind of undervalued right now, especially against team compositions like this. It gives you a lot of stats. Most importantly, in this matchup, at least, would be that AoE attack speed slow The horrific emblem could kind of do the same thing. I mean, that's a good recognition by relating that you can slow the enemy attack speed, movement speed, and then if you upgraded their damage output as well entirely, that could really come into play later on in this game. Just wonder how early relating is going to decide to spend that 500 gold to upgrade his horrific emblem.
I mean, it goes either way, though. Starboys could also opt to pick up a Witchblade themselves, just looking at antiVenom's draft. You got the Bologna, who's clearly trying to go for damage. Joltag, meanwhile, getting chased out and forced out of his lane. Probably going to lose that T1 tower unless the team rotation is clutch.
And Fiercest Newt's on the way. The damage Sobek is here, so antiVenom's got to be careful of that. I kid, sort of, but it is a lot of damage. I mean, he's still third on the game. He's third in the game. Mystical Mail does it.
Mystical Mail, and on top of that, Sickening Strike and Tail Whip actually do a surprising amount of damage when you build just a little bit as well. It's not like he's got, you know, super power-heavy items. They're still somewhat utility-based in helping out his team.
And the Void Stone as well on top of that, as Cameron eats a little bit more poke than he gave to Aromatica, but one of the things that makes Soul so potent is that Radiance. The first ability is now he's going in, is going to force the Aegis out of Aromatica. Don't think that Cameron had kill potential there, even if he hits just about every part of that Supernova Stellar Burst combo.
But forcing out the Aegis means that he is going to be able to stay in lane at the expense of knowing that he has a lot of chance to be dove now by the Robin.
Yeah, you know that Mythic's going to be looking for him with that final judgment. He's been on point with them so far, and he's still got a pretty solid lead over Panda Mid. He's maintained that 400 gold and level lead as Aromatica now in trouble as anyone jumps right on top. 1 HP, but the shell might save him, and it does. I Am the Hamster saves his hunter from the ticking Bluestone pendant, but it is going to force Aromatica back most likely. Does have Devourer's Gauntlets nearly fully stacked, so strong lifesteal and Terra heal, but not enough to make him stick around, and so Starboy's going to take this opportunity to look towards the Gold Fury. Cameron does not have his ultimate here, and Relating should. Fiercest Newt off the mark with that pluck, and now going to eat some damage in return. Relating in the middle of everyone on the bottom side as he used his ultimate to engage, and now it's Sobek looking for the damage of his own. Jacob Task is here, and he is huge. Level 17, big Taunton setup, but no ultimate from Mythic. Joltak set him up with 3 members there, but just didn't take advantage. Big damage out of Jacob Task as he finds the Lord of the Afterlife over the top. Mythic still looking for it. He's not going to find it, but Jacob Task will. Fiercest Newt falls for the first time this game. Aromatica decides not to jump in, but antiVenom's all low here, Taco.
Right in the middle of everyone, Cameron finally able to find the kill onto I Am the Hamster. Aromatica and Relating just trying to hang around, see if they can maybe prevent this Gold Fury from going down. Panda Man, he doesn't have an ultimate anymore, actually already used it, but it's still anybody's Gold Fury right now.
Everyone on Starboys is just so low. No one can really be the dedicated tank for this Gold Fury, and because of that, they're just going to have to back it up. antiVenom and Starboys go 1 for 1 by the Gold Fury, but I really think that was a great setup by Joltak, who, and don't get me wrong, he's been getting bodied in the solo lane thus far, but that was his opportunity, and as I mentioned, great team fighter. Now was time to shine. Now he's back in the middle of things and trying to get everyone off this Gold Fury. Not going to get that heal off in time. He'll fall, and now it's antiVenom right back onto the objective. Mythic likely not to have his ultimate at this stage. Fiercest Newt in the middle of everyone, going to try and steal this away, but he cannot. antiVenom do a great job of pulling the Gold Fury deeper into the pit in order to secure it, but now Starboys want to continue the fight. Relating, jukes out that ultimate from anyone. Perfect stun by the Hamster, and Bologna's going to get out of danger. Starboys don't want to let this go quite yet as Newt lurks in the water. Stun onto Aromatica, big damage onto him, but he's going to be able to jump away. Final Judgment not going to be thrown out there by Mythic, and so antiVenom get the Gold Fury, a kill, and they don't lose anyone in response.
Which means that they won't be losing their T1 tower, most likely. That's typically what we tend to see from teams when they look to punish teams off of the Gold Fury secure. Then they'll chase down, try and get a pick or two, and then siege the T1 tower immediately after. Portal Demon might still be the play, but still, with every single member on antiVenom being available and having already backed and returned, there's just not a whole lot of opportunity to really try and get in there.
4-6 right now, antiVenom in the lead, 22.5 minutes in. Starboys, the defending SCL squad, trying to keep antiVenom at bay. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this game, antiVenom full of names that have been in the challenger scene, who have been in the high-level ranked games of the console side for quite some time, and trying to get their first shot at the SCL, or for some, their second, but either way, trying to make it back as the tier 1 tower on the right side falls. antiVenom pushes their lead to about 1,500. Not a big lead by any stretch at this stage, and XP looks fairly even. Couple leads on the right side of the map for antiVenom, but a couple leads in the mid lane and left for Starboys, and it is just about even at this stage.
Except for the goal, but it's relating, trying to make things not very even. Mythic already forced out both of his actives, but he's still getting chased down by the entirety of antiVenom, who he ultimate. Suns are falling, but so is Mythic, finally taken out by ErupT.
The double warrior hit squad finds their mid lane target. Now Cameron in a bit of trouble, but a great pluck by Newt is going to spell the end for relating. Anyone gets that credit. He tries to continue this push. Aromatica, objective-minded, just on the tower. Robin goes in all by himself here, but Joltak's here with him, actually. These two warriors now trying to make an impact for Starboys after antiVenoms did it for their squad. Panda mid, very, very low, escaping with 1 HP as Chang'e does so well, and ErupT makes the Robin jungle pay for going a little bit too hard. It's another kill for antiVenom, 2 for 1, and they've got that sustain from the Chang'e.
And this tiny bit of Chang'e sustain is actually about to spell the death for Starboys as Joltak caught in the middle of everybody, but Fierce's new, able to clean up that Chang'e in the back. Everybody left Panda mid alone.
That's the damage Sobek for you. Now looking for another potential pick. Stellar Burst and Supernova. It's only Supernova comes down. Looking for some more kills. Joltak the first one in underneath this tower with that ultimate. The hamster very low, but Cameron's going to find ErupT. Certainly worth more gold. That's a big boost for him, but he's got to be careful because look at how low his HP is, and relating is here. Eagles rally, and Cameron's going to fall. Aromatica finally does underneath that tower, but again, it's antiVenom always seeming to come out slightly on top.
Just talk about a brawl from one end of the lane to the next. Both of these teams just really trying to go at it. For a moment there, it looked like antiVenom was going to be vastly ahead as far as the overall team fight was concerned, but Panda mid getting cleaned up by Fierce's new. Damage pick actually coming up when you need him to.
And that Void Stone, man, he's got that extra damage there. Now going for Hide of the Nemean Lion, which gives him protection, yes, but also damage.
Still an incredibly greedy build, though, as far as his overall team's protections are concerned. He's kind of banking on Joltak to really assist him with this frontline peeling aspect.
And look at the difference in build here. The Terra, I am the hamster. He's gone for all team utility in some sort. The Jade Emperor's crown, reducing the physical damage coming out of the jungle, the solo. You also, the Jade Emperor is good here, but maybe not as good as it usually is because you don't have that that physical hunter. Still a solid pickup in this scenario. And then the Shogun's Kasari, we mentioned that both of these teams pretty auto attack heavy. That Shogun's boosting the attack speed of everyone around the Terra, and now an Emperor's armor, so boosting either his own tower's defense or debuffing the enemy team's tower whenever they start to siege. Two completely different style of support builds, but both can work out in their own right.
It all just depends on the team play, and they have the team items that matter, I think, and that's the anti-heal for the Chang'e. Chang'e sustain actually starting to come into play pretty heavily, especially since he's got that Rod of Asclepius, and it just really looking to be that utility healer in the backline for his team.
I love this Runic Shield pickup for relating in the jungle. I mentioned that you don't have the usual physical hunter, it's a magical hunter this time around, and honestly, it helps against the Sobek, who's doing a decent amount of damage to them as well. He's still second on his team. He's actually surpassed Mythic now in the damage numbers. So this Runic Shield reducing the magical power of Soul, Sobek, and Thoth. Really, really smart pickup by relating.
Fierce's new trying to find Panda there, but unable to connect with that pluck. They've really got to keep an open eye out, though, for these Sobek plucks around the corners in particular, because that's all it takes is one pluck, and then you're just immediately dead to the Thoth CC afterwards.
Starboys have closed the gold gap just a little bit, but this game's still slightly in antiVenom's favor, but not out of hand by any stretch. This game basically even at this stage. Cameron's got himself a nice 2-level lead over Aromatica now, as takes a little bit of poke and has to use some abilities, but here comes the blink from the Robin, looking for Aromatica. Shell used by relating, and now he's looking for anyone. Finds him with that ultimate. Cameron into the Disapparate, trying to get enough movement speed to dodge the bludgeon as Aromatica goes up and over this Sobek ultimate. Another shell used. Aromatica takes a big chunk of damage, but Newt's taking the most, and Mythic's been left all alone. He's forced out of this fight pretty early on as well. Cameron uses his own Aegis Amulet, and a lot thrown, but not a lot found by either squad.
And Joltak was really just straight lining it towards Mythic, trying to provide assist to his mid laner. Didn't even care what was happening in dual lane, but he might care now for relating. Caught by that Soul Stellar Burst, but nothing too dangerous just yet.
Not quite yet, but Cameron is starting to do some damage. Should be a Rod of Tahuti next. No, it looks like it might be another Divine Ruin. Pretty delayed Rod if Cameron's going for another penetration option in that 5th item slot, but maybe feels like he needs that pen to punch through these tanky warriors as Newt finds a pluck onto the hamster, but that's not really the target you want to throw into your team. Terra very, very tanky at this stage.
Cameron running a little bit low on mana here. Granted, he still has plenty of utility to his team because of his auto attacks, but either way, you don't want to be this low on mana before a team fight breaks out, especially when that Gold Fury is spawned.
Sands of Time is his starter item, so he's getting more MP5 based on how much mana he's missing, which is quite a bit at this stage, as you mentioned, but you're right, don't want to have a fight break out and not be able to use the whole kit. So Cameron does back and does continue that magical penetration tree. It's either going to be a Divine Ruin, a Spear of Desolation, or a Spear of the Magus. Spear here, Spear of the Magus, I should say, not the worst pickup, but also not a particularly good pickup. It just that Soul doesn't really get a chance to apply that many stacks. You're thinking 3 to 4 at max from your two ult combination, and that does strip magical protection away so that you and Mythic and Sobek can be doing more damage, but I just don't think that's the correct call here.
I'm assuming it's a Spear of Deso.
Yeah.
I'd have to assume that it's a Spear of Desolation, and it's slightly cheaper than Rod, and he might feel as though he needs that pen for just how tanky antiVenom is.
Could also be another Divine Ruin, as you mentioned. Panda Mid's really gone for the healer style of build with that Rod of Asclepius and Lotus Crown, so really trying to shut down that healing potential, plus the Terra Ultimate and the Terra Monolith, both of those providing healing for the enemy as well. So that could be the call here. I think that Divine Ruin, having 2 of them in this sort of scenario, not an awful idea, but to be 30 minutes in and have both of your late game magical hyper carries not have Rod of Tahuti, it is a tough sell for me.
And that's kind of just what you have to work on when you're focusing on the team bursting aspect. Starboys, I think, are looking for more of a one-and-done scenario, and that could be interesting to try and uphold when your Thoth doesn't really have that initial power spike, and the same for your Soul. So it'll be interesting to see how the team fights play out and whether or not they'll be able to still outburst the sustain.
Well, now Aromatica's got some burst of his own because he's finished off Deathbringer. He's got that Poison Star that's become pretty popular, as well as the Deathbringer. So not the ability burst like we're talking about with Starboys, but really only going to take 3 to 4 auto attacks that crit for Aromatica to knock down just about anybody on the Starboys lineup.
Aromatica needs 1 Hui Ricochet stun, and then any follow-up auto attack afterwards, if he gets the RNG crit on it, is just going to hurt. That's basically it. It's
going to chunk. Cameron must have finished whatever pen option he's going for because he's heading back to base. Both these teams really dedicated to this Gold Fury 31 minutes in. This is pretty late to be looking for a Gold Fury, but it's also, there's only been 1 Gold Fury taken in it so far in this game. Usually used to seeing a couple more than that. And now antiVenom going for it, and it's falling very, very quickly. Those crits coming through from Aromatica. Cameron's on the way back. It was a Divine Ruin pickup for him. And Relating used the ultimate, but didn't really find the right home. Newt in the middle of everybody, but Mythic's going to fire off that ultimate and deal big damage to Aromatica. Relating very low as well as the sun rains down from the Hu Yi ADC. Relating escapes, but maybe Jacob Task will not after getting plucked back in. Newt pays for it, but that's a trade he's going to take every single time. Joltak low, but look at the health bars from antiVenom as Mythic finds Hamster over the wall with the Hieroglyphic Assault. Anyone will pick up Aromatica in the mid lane, and now it's Starboys with a chance for a free Gold Fury.
That was a massive Thoth ultimate that really just completely saved that team fight. It just made the team fight entirely for Starboys, and having everybody so low in the backline and the Divine Ruin really just prevented antiVenom from getting the sustain that they needed to really push any further with that. I loved anyone's commitment immediately. Whether or not his team was following him afterwards, he just knew he had to Robin ult into that back line.
But now Starboys split up here, Taco. They had a 4v2. They weren't particularly healthy, but Cameron was fairly low. He's got that sustain built into his kit. He's also got plenty of lifesteal now with that Bancroft's Talon. That was an opportunity to get multiple towers there, or maybe a mid tower and a portal demon. But Starboys just decide to split and farm. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's almost like they still feel as though they're 10 minutes into a game when it's actually 33.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking absolute destruction of towers right now. Soul, I mean, you saw how quickly Cameron just took down that tier 1 and left. That's an easy tier 1 in middle, and probably a portal demon as well. That could have been a tier 2 in middle potentially, because you've got that Thoth putting up that glyph of pain that it increases auto attack damage, everything going through it. You're talking a tower that can go down in seconds. Either way, Starboys side, they don't need it.
Joltak, though, in a little bit of trouble, actually caught out in his 72 transformations, getting double ulted now by Jacob Taz, but the Thoth ult really deterring, going straight down the middle there into antiVenom. Not a whole lot of damage. Fierce's Newt trying to solve that issue.
Now looking for more. antiVenom doesn't want to continue the push quite yet, but Joltak decides to back here, and antiVenom all head towards that portal demon. They have the ward coverage. Starboys don't know the health, but they have an idea this is going on. Nice wall there, but Cameron goes up and over it with an ultimate of his own, and now Starboys have the chase going. The pluck onto Jacob Task actually puts him in a decent spot. Good shell saves his life there as Waxing Moon comes out just for insurance from Panda Mid, but the rest of Starboys, they're chasing on the right-hand side. Relating, he gets knocked up. He's still got that winged blade, the sprint, the speed buff. My man is fast, but not fast enough as Newt tracks him down. Anyone with the kill. Joltak decides that he thought that was pretty funny. And now it's going to be the continued push here for Starboys onto this tier 2 and right.
Popped his sprint just to make sure he wouldn't be fast enough to run away. And this is the T2 tower siege that you were talking about. And this time it only came with one pick. Everybody else from antiVenom was forced out. But Starboys, knowing that that portal demon was secured by antiVenom, playing it safe, backing, spending that gold that they just secured. And now the fire giant dance around is probably going to start breaking out.
Mythic has his Rod of Tahuti completed. Cameron has got to be pretty close.
Excuse me, that was Cameron that stole away the portal demon.
It was. That was a big play, absolutely, because now Starboys used it. They backed, they came through the portal. They tried to go for the fire giant, but antiVenom a little too privy to that. Aromatica might be in some trouble. Nice pin and the taunt as well. He gets his Aegis pulled out. There's a lot of damage onto him coming from these warriors. Cameron's ultimate this time pretty impactful, as anyone's going to finish off Aromatica with that Mystic Rush. Pin not quite enough to find the root onto I Am the Hamster, but the mystical mail tick's not enough from Fierce's Dude either. He took up a lot of that Phoenix damage, but not enough to bring him down quite yet. Big Waxing Moon, though, from Panda Mid will secure that kill. It'll also secure another one onto that Robin jungle. Mythic said he just wanted the tower, dude. I don't know what the rest of my team was doing. I just wanted that 1500.
I'm not sure the shot call there should be for your Sobek support to dive an enemy team's Phoenix when the T2 tower is still standing, but sometimes you just gotta commit.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I don't think you had to there, but they did anyways. Good patience there by Cameron, actually secures that red buff steal away from Panda Mid, but Cameron a little bit isolated on the left side of the map. Mythic also on that left side, but antiVenom do not try and punish the enemy hunter for invading on their buffs. As now Cameron is full build, so it's already been doing quite a bit of damage in these team fights. That's going to be amped up significantly after finishing off that Rod of Tahuti. Joltak in some trouble, but Mythic is now the focus. He was just there to try and help out his solo laner, but he's the one who gets punished. Panda Mid claims the life of the enemy mid, and now antiVenom has a 4v2 push in this mid lane. Cameron's returned, and as I mentioned, has a lot more damage now, but still not enough to dissuade antiVenom from knocking down that tier 1 tower.
0 to 100 out of nowhere from antiVenom. That's one of those commits that you don't necessarily anticipate from that team, especially after just having lost the team fight. But Panda Mid, that Waxing Moon is just chunking away, and Aromatica, speaking of getting chunked, getting absolutely destroyed by Fierce's Newt in the back line.
He's going for it. The damage. Sobek's looking for the solo kill onto Aromatica right now, chasing him down all the way to the enemy tier 2 where it used to stand. And Newt is still going for it. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad, yeah, he just got soloed by a damaged Sobek. Fiercest Newt finds it. The rest of the squad trying to handle Joltak and Robin, as well as Cameron on this soul. Everyone else for Starboys is still fairly healthy, as Jacob Task and I Am the Hamster were trying their best to get him away. Nice taunt into the damage there from Cameron. Jacob Task gonna fall to that Piranha Onslaught. Panda Mid 1 HP. Joltak just needs a pin here. But just waiting on that cooldown, will find it. Heal came out first from Panda Mid. Might be enough to get him away, and it is.
It's the Gem of Isolation on the Chang'e. It was too much of a slow for Joltek to be able to continue that. But Fierce is new. Meanwhile, he's not going to get away for free, most likely, after that chase onto the Huyi, and Relating is going to be able to clean him up, but Mythic could be doing the same thing to Relating.
Just needs one more shot. That evade and punish will take care of Relating. As the rest of Starboys, while Relating was chasing down a Sobek, they got a Phoenix on the right-hand side. We're 38 minutes in, Taco, and we've seen some interesting plays from both sides. I think that it's pretty fair to say that both these squads have some things going for them, but the discipline as a whole needs to improve.
I think it's Joltek support by this point. I don't think that it's Joltek playing the solo laner anymore. I'm pretty sure it's Assassin Sobek and Erlong support.
Pretty much at this stage. I mean, he sold his Traveler's shoes for pen boots before finishing off his 6th item.
It's going to be a divine ruin, Beck.
He already has the 50% anti-heal on Sickening Strike. Would bring it to 90%, I suppose. No, it can't build Mystical Mail. It's going to be Emperor's Armor, which is a really strong pickup at this stage. Very smart. You're going to be sieging quite a bit now, potentially defending against sieges as well. Just slowing down that attack speed of the enemy Phoenixes makes a huge difference when it comes to these sieges. So a smart pickup, and it's a team-oriented one.
It's the distraction factor, though, really. I mean, one Sobek is busy soloing. He's busy soloing Aromatica while he has a Chang'e and a Terra trying to assist, both not really able to help in the slightest, and finds the kill and then runs around for another couple of minutes before finally dying.
I'll tell you what, I don't want to see Fiercest Snoot 1. Can you imagine?
I can't. Dude, imagine the original Fiercest Snoot.
Oh man, that's scary stuff. If he's the second Fiercest Snoot,
the actual mastermind.
What do you think? What sort of criminal mastermind is Fiercest Snoot 1? That's terrifying to think about. I have trouble sleeping the night. Left side, Phoenix still standing. Mid, Phoenix still up as well here for antiVenom as we're approaching the 40-minute mark, 17-14. Starboys in the lead trying to defend their SCL spot. antiVenom still punching up, trying to get in to the SCL. Basically everyone full build here, Taco. I mean, I'm looking at I Am the Hamster, the only one without all 6 items completed. So gold now irrelevant in this game. Power pots are nice, but they're not going to make or break. It's all about how much you can execute, how disciplined you can be. Can't be chasing kills at this stage.
No, they need to focus on the objectives, and that should be Cameron's priority. He needs to be the main one looking to siege these Phoenixes. Both teams have Emperors to work in their advantage, so that should actually negate each other pretty much.
But Cameron's also the one doing the most damage here for Starboys, so they might be lacking damage if he's the one going for these objectives. Mythic is full build now, though, so can just basically one-shot Aromatica at this stage. Only takes a little bit of setup, and there's the ultimate from Relating, but it doesn't find anybody. Good damage onto him. Shell comes down. Ultimate from Cameron doesn't really make an impact this time around as Mythic stays safe in the backside. Big taunt, and right up on top with that Mystic Rush. I Am Anyone's looking for the kill on I Am the Hamster. Final Judgment completely whiffs, though, from Mythic, and the left side Phoenix falls, but no kills quite yet. Cameron, big stellar burst there as Joltek is deep into the enemy Titan room, but not enough to find any kills. Fiercest Snoot tanking up this mid Phoenix. Not going to take long for Cameron to bring this one down, but in comes antiVenom to try and defend it. Down to about half HP. Joltek now the one tanking it up as he gets rooted in place, and he's taking quite a bit of damage. He falls to Jacob Task as the third Phoenix finally does fall. Cameron picks up I Am the Hamster, and now it's Starboys with all 3 Phoenixes down. Fire minions on this right side could pose a problem even for Jacob Task.
And Jacob Taz, I mean, 1-0 Cyrus against Fiercest Snoot, but Cameron's getting attacked on the back line by Relating, and Panda Mid is going to be able to clean him up. Meanwhile, Aromatica finally takes down Fiercest Snoot. And that's not a promising look for anyone, considering he's left all alone now against 3 members of antiVenom. Aromatica just barely surviving.
Not even close for either Aromatica or the right side Phoenix. I'm going to be honest here, Taco. Fiercest Snoot almost kills Jacob Task there, but Starboys would probably rather have him peeling for Cameron, and if Cameron stays alive there, that right side Phoenix probably falls, and that team fight might go a little differently.
I think that's true, but at the same time, at the very start of that team fight, Mythic was unfortunately unable to connect with that final judgment. I think that would have been potentially game-ending had that not been slightly off to the right from 3 members of antiVenom.
And a good point, no doubt. And certainly at 42 minutes with a full build Thoth with a power pot, we're talking game-ending potential from any final judgment that he fires off. antiVenom does clean up that portal demon on the right-hand side, as Fire Giant is due to respawn within the next 30 seconds. So not a bad portal demon to take, because this gives more time for antiVenom to push out these fire waves back and then get here to defend fire.
Looking ahead, though, even if Starboys are able to close this one out, they need to be a little bit more consistent with their shot calling and team priority focus of targeting. Because their target focus right now, while it's all fun in games while you're ahead, but Fiercest New, I don't think that he can afford to make these same kind of aggressive directions that he's been taking.
We'll have to wait and see if they can even close this one out, because antiVenom, they've got a lot of towers to worry about, Taco. Even if they win a team fight, they've got a lot to take down, but they do have sustain. They do have multiple tanks in order to tank up these structures. Could be even one team fight away from ending because of how long these respawn timers will be for Starboys at this stage of the game. Fire Giant goes down, and Mythic does not need to use the ultimate to confirm. That's a big save from the Starboys mid laner. As you mentioned, any final judgment at this stage of the game can be game-ending, as Starboys try and end the game off a right side siege right here.
antiVenom, this is basically their last shot. They don't even have the waves really pushed out far enough to deter Starboys for very long from really just shoving down the lanes themselves. I mean, Joltek already pushing up the mid lane. That was probably the most pushed out one from antiVenom, and so having those fire minions pouring into their base is going to make this right side Phoenix defense incredibly difficult.
This is the time to fight, because Pandamid just went back to defend the Titan. Right side Phoenix already down to about 50% HP. Fiercest Newt in and splits the uprights with that pluck, and he takes a lot of damage early on from Aromatica here. Fiercest Newt likely to fall. One more should do it, but Aromatica jumps into about half HP. Because of that lurking in the waters, Relating does claim that kill, but it bought enough time for Starboys to get the Phoenix. Jacob Task looking for the ultimate. Aromatica finishes off Joltek in that mid lane, and the chase is on now from antiVenom. Relating falls pretty low. Mythic trying to get his damage off, but already used both of his relics. He's got to try and disengage because he's already below half HP. Cameron is as well, but he's got that Disapparate. Drops that ultimate, the Supernova, just in case to deter any chase, but Titan stays fairly healthy. Left side Phoenix respawns. Mid Phoenix is a... Where did Relating go?
I mean, I think that's a good question, but Cameron is a late game soul, so I think you found your answer. Same could be said for the Hamster, though. He's trying to get away from anyone, but I don't think he's going to have a successful time with that, and he is cleaned up, but the same happens to Mythic in the back line. He was left all alone, these two carries against one Hui. Aromatica with the double kill.
Anyone does get the Phoenix in the mid lane, but Aromatica likely to clean up with a triple here. Indeed he does. And antiVenom deicide the opposition. That's what we were talking about was necessary, but that deicide is so spread out here, Taco. I mean, Joltek is about to be up. Fiercest Newt has already respawned. So how much can antiVenom really get off of this deicide?
Potentially the T2 tower. They might not even have enough time for that because Mythic spawns in 35 seconds as well, and these two frontliners both have the combined damage and tankiness to try and deal with antiVenom.
And just bad timing with the wave. Look at how far away antiVenom's wave is in that mid lane. Neither Chang'e nor Hu Yi can tank this tier 2 tower up. So I think just backing up and doing Gold Fury here is probably the wiser call. They do still have 12 seconds, I suppose, on Mythic, and it looks like Tier 2 might just be given up by the two tanks from Starboys. Indeed it will. So it ends up working out, sticking around for this Tier 2 tower. Stealing away this red buff would also be pretty impactful if they can do so successfully, because late game red buff, you get a percentage of your power added to your pool with whenever you pick up red, and in the late game when you got a lot of power, that can make the difference, absolutely.
Starboys still definitely had the advantage as far as objectives and structures are concerned, simply because Soul's going to have a little bit more pen and shred against these towers with Cameron's build in comparison to Aromatica, but they've got to keep in mind, this is a triple crit Hu Yi. I don't think that they're necessarily respecting Aromatica as much as they should be with the way that they've kind of just been recklessly diving that backline. Sure, it's great when you can connect with your CC and really lock somebody down, but Fierce's Newt, if he keeps missing these plucks, he is just going to get shredded. It took him, what, 4 or 5 auto attacks from Aromatica, and he was basically dead.
It didn't take long, that's for sure, and especially with that Mark of the Golden Crow, just increasing that damage that much more. Even with a Mystical Mail, you're not going to be standing for long. Left side Phoenix seems to be the focus here for Starboys. No Fire Giant anymore, though. It's fallen off. I mean, they got decided anyways, but would have fallen off by now either way. Phoenix has regen to its maximum now. 2/3 is as high as it's going to get on the respawn. It's going to be the regular attack speed because there's an Emperor's Armor on both sides. And I Am the Hamster pops the Terra ultimate very early on, trying to get this engage out from underneath their own Phoenix. Ricochet hits on a Mythic for good poke. But I don't know if this is the engage they want, Taco. 3-man taunt into the root. Final Judgment.
Oh, he's out. He is completely out of that one. Aromatica just skips it. Still forced out of his Aegis by anyone choosing to go in. Dropping the Suns.
Is looking for anyone with these abilities, but can't quite find him. Aromatica dodging in his own ultimate, and he's going to be able to pick up this Robin jungle. Now Mythic forced to disengage as Fierce's Newt fell pretty low on HP. Titan does take some significant poke there as right side Phoenix falls right after it respawns to the incoming fire wave. So Starboys lose a member and don't get the left side Phoenix, but they do get that right one again.
It's the Winions, and realistically speaking, if Starboys hadn't already secured these Phoenixes one time before, I think the antiVenom would probably be winning this game right about now. These team fights have been completely one-sided. The target focus has just been all over the place. Too much chaos from Starboys.
Yeah, but that engage, I don't know. I still don't know about that engage, Taco. I mean, it ends up working out, but it's really because Starboys try and re-engage and botch it on the Robin Blink and ultimate combination. Aromatica stays safe despite being low on HP. He does have to be worried about his positioning a little bit because if he gets hit by one of these final judgments, he's pretty toast. Speaking of toast, Cameron just grilled him up. That Stellar Burst does a lot of damage at 49 minutes, and that's the pick that Starboys needed. Aromatica's been the one making life difficult for them. As soon as he's dead, this Fire Giant is as good as gone. Mythic does use the ultimate this time with no one in the area code, but we've got the advantage of seeing the no ones in the area. Starboys do not.
Better
That's just
safe
one of
than
those
sorry.
things. Yeah, it seems silly when you look at it from a top down, but in the moment, I think that's probably the right call. Either way, Starboys have the Fire Giant. They're down in kills in total, 21 to 24. antiVenom still in the lead there. Gold, who cares? XP, who cares? Everyone's level 20, except for Terra, but who cares?
It's a support.
I don't care.
That's just a support life. He's just had a really rough time playing the defending end more often than not. And speaking of which, it's now Joltek trying to engage, but they're just looking for the end.
Cameron, he just went into the backside and ended the game all by himself, basically. Now everyone's here to find it, but Cameron, I love that play. I mean, it's Joltek in the mid lane. Everyone's saying, oh, they're about to get mid Phoenix. You know, we got to come and defend it. Cameron's like, see ya, dudes. I'll be at the Titan, like, ending the game right now.
And that's
Heads
the
up.
advantage of a late game carry. That's
Yep.
it entirely. And I mean, kudos to him for that decision-making process. It was going nowhere when they were trying to fight underneath the Phoenixes. They were actually losing a member or two, buying time on antiVenom's side. So I like the shot call. More than enough time to end the game.
I mean, that was an intense back and forth game. I mean, both sides really did some interesting things and some good things. I mean, there was a little bit of both, as they usually are here in Relegations. But that one was pretty long. In the early game, I mean, that was really the right side Warriors dominating for antiVenom. I'm looking at the Bellona and the Osiris. Jacob Task was really handing it to Joltek and Lane for the majority of that game. But then came the team fighting stage, and Cameron really started to show up. He had some really good team fights. Mythic in the mid game was very solid as well on that Thoth. Both teams have some things that if they clean up with where their shortcomings are, they can make the rest of this relegation process a little bit easier on themselves.
I would say, though, I was kind of expecting the draft with the Terra to go a little bit better, but Joltek on that Erlong Shen just kept finding multiple grouping taunts with his ultimate, and I think that just came up absolutely massive for Starboys, and Cameron just had so much follow-up almost every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cameron was really the main damage dealer here for Starboys, which is what you expect. I mean, this is the guy who has the most experience on this roster. He's been in the SCL for a long time, played at Worlds last year. He and the rest of Aware on that squad didn't get the result they would like, but still did enough in order to get there. And so this guy he's been there, he's done that, and this is the type of game where you really expect him to show up big, and he did.
I mean, he made the game-ending decision-making there, and so that is kind of a way to lead into somebody's experience. You can really tell that he knew he had the damage and potential to end the game, so he just went for it.
Well, that's game 1. And we've got a lot more games coming today. I mean, we've got 6 scheduled. Sometimes it could be a little less with relegation. Sometimes it could be a little or a lot more if we've got tiebreakers later on. Go grab a quick snack, because who knows how long we'll be here. It's NA Relegations. We'll be right back.
Love is strong.